What's up, guys, and welcome to another DFH locker room. We've lost two guests. We've lost James and Quinn. They're both out, but we still have Doomsee, and now it's a bigger screen Doomsee, so that's worth a lot more, especially when he's drinking from a bottle, you know? So...
Gotta stay hydrated for the show. It's intense.
Oh, of course. Intense show. We're going to be talking RLCS predictions and a lot of other stuff. But we're here. This is number 19. You can catch us on SoundCloud and all that stuff, too. I actually updated the audio to the most recent episode, but it was like 3 days late. So maybe this time I'll get it out super early so everyone can hear this while the RLCS is going on if they wish to. And obviously, I am not at the RLCS. Surprise, surprise. Because, you know, I have a baby. So for the first 2 weeks, I won't be there, but I will be back for the RLCS streams in 3 weeks' time. So that would be the second week of league play. So hopefully, you know, I can talk about Doomsee then. Hopefully. Doomsee. Hopefully.
What? I can't make any promises.
All right. Someone's saying you're 25% louder. I'm going to...
Turn me down, mate.
I'm going to turn you down just a touch. Just a touch. All right. Okay, we're good. I think we're good. All right, guys, so we're going to go right into it. The first thing is, well, our RLCS actually started last weekend, but we figured most teams will just like come out of the open qualifier, like the bigger groups of best of threes pretty easily, and most teams did, but a couple had some problems. First, we'll start with NA before we get into the EU, because we got a whole lot to talk about for the EU. So Genesis actually losing in the final round. They are going to be in the lower bracket going into this week. They lost to, I think their name was like Inquisitors. I can't remember. It's with Tanker. Like, I didn't actually write this down.
They lost
but like
to the Inquisitors. Yeah.
Yes, Inquisitors.
Something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows what this team is? It was Tanker. Like, it was known players, and I can't think of all their names off the top of my head. I'm having a brain fart, but whatever. Like, all I know is it was at least Tanker. But so they're in the lower bracket, and we'll talk about their bracket a little bit later. And Trinity also got knocked down to the lower bracket. Those two teams are actually on the same part of the lower bracket, so one of those two teams will not make it in. Trinity hasn't had a ton of results yet, but they were like kind of known players, and so we'll see there. But the big story, probably the biggest, well, like Genesis was probably the biggest story, but the second biggest story and the most controversial story, Doomsee, take it away.
What? The story?
Europe.
Of Europe.
Come on.
Well, for starters, Supersonic Avengers, they got through.
Oh, yes, exactly. Biggest story of the day.
Well, wait, what are you referring to the biggest story? There's nothing crazy happened, unless I'm completely missing something.
Doomsee, are you trolling me? Well,
I'm not trolling you. What are you on about? All I knew, the only thing that was like, there's nothing controversial, just Team Rocket played against Flipside.
Do you even have the outline up?
Yeah, it's right here. What are you on about? Am I like... Everyone who's in the loser bracket pretty much should be there.
No, don't look at the bracket.
What?
Look at the outline.
Oh, the outline.
Yes.
Okay. Right, let's start again, everyone.
All right.
Welcome
so
to
this is DFH locker room number 19. We're back. We got Doomsee. Doomsee is slacking today. It's all right. Like,
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, like Doomsee just got back from the gym. He's a little tired, so
yeah.
It happens. All right, so Doomsee, the biggest story of Europe from the first weekend.
Yeah, so Complex played, except they didn't play because a certain person called Yeezy had internet troubles and
forgot his phone.
He didn't appear, so and they had no sub, and because they had no sub, they got disqualified. And yeah, they went to the losers, and they were probably cacking themselves, and then they got disqualified from the losers bracket. And I don't think Vogan was best pleased, but yeah, they didn't have a sub for some stupid reason, and Vogan, like, I don't know why, it's defending his point that he didn't need a sub. Shall I quote?
Sure, go ahead. We're gonna start with the soapbox, but I didn't realize that Doomsee was gonna also jump on the soapbox. But go ahead, Doomsee. Go ahead and start.
So in response to this whole fiasco, Vogan said, "I straight up haven't needed a sub for one of my teams in the entirety of 2016. With the Flying Dutchman in qualifier 1, we needed a sub at one point as Jesse disconnected, but he arrived like an hour late. Jesse got back just in time. None of the top players really have issues with internet or power, since if they did, they wouldn't be able to compete at the top level so consistently. Besides, Yeezy didn't show up for the remainder of the qualifier, and the last match of the day was a decent team, so even with a sub, we would have had a very tough day." That's what do you think about that, Gibbs?
Let's break it down, all right? I'm going to take the soapbox back. Like, you don't have the stream up, but I actually have a soapbox under our names. So let's start with, I haven't needed a sub for a team in 2016. Then he says he needed a sub in qualifier 1 at one point because Jesse disconnected. So right there, he needed a sub at least once. And it doesn't matter if you've never needed a sub before. Like, power outages happen randomly. Like, I've had one in the past year at my house. That doesn't mean it can't happen during RLCS. Like, why would you take that chance? Makes absolutely no sense of why you would not have subs. Now, I understand that maybe it's hard to find subs, but literally pick up anyone. Like Mike's team, Good Morning, they picked up Morbo. Smart move. Like, it's Morbo. Who cares? Like, he's like, it's not going to matter, but like, if they need him, maybe like, say for the open qualifier, then they can beat some of these teams. And then he's like, well, he didn't come back anyway throughout the whole qualifier, so the last match would have been like pretty tough because it was a decent team. But it's like, again, what if he came back like just an hour late and now you're out? And at the same time, even if it's like the last match of the day, like, is tough, you would at least be in lower brackets. Say you did lose that match, but if you had a sub, you still would have had a chance at it compared to you're not playing at all. Well, it makes absolutely no sense. It just seemed weird that he was trying to defend himself so hard, like, in these Reddit comments, because it's like, be like, yeah, we should have had a sub. We fucked up. Like, that's all he had to say. It's like, that sucks.
I don't think he wants to do that. I think he wants to admit he made a mistake, and that's why he's coming up with this kind of reasoning. But, like, you know, another team, sorry, another team doesn't have a sub, and when you actually look through a lot of brackets, there are quite a few teams that don't have any subs, and it's kind of worrying. Like, you need just pick anyone, because Flipside don't have a sub.
Yeah.
Even though they were looking for a sub, because they were originally looking at Jazer, and then they didn't just take him. Like, what? I don't understand.
Like, why not? Yeah. It just seems weird not to have sub. And of course, like, we're not going to talk about the teams that don't have subs unless it's a problem. But that's like, yeah, of course that's the way it is. Like, obviously, like, Flipside does not have a sub. That is a bad move. But if they don't need their sub, it's a non-issue. But the thing is, in that 1% chance where Marky's internet dies, then it's a huge issue. They're just out of it completely. Like, why would you take that chance? It makes absolutely no sense. But of course, like Vogan said, like, Flipside doesn't have one either. People have been moving away from them for a while. Teams have not been moving away from subs. I think Flipside was just like, oh crap, Mike wants to have fun and wants to make a team, so now we need a sub. And then they kind of didn't like grab Jazer at the last second. It makes absolutely no sense to not have a sub. It's like, this is the most important 2 weekends for the next 4 months. Because now, like, Vogan is like, no one's going to care about Vogan for the next 4 months. Until RLCS Season 3, like, if that is in 4 months. Who knows when it is. It just makes no sense to not have a backup plan just in case something weird happens, which can definitely happen. Or, for like Yeezy's case, have a backup place to play. Like, get on early, because I think he got on, like, super late. Like, he was only, like, on half an hour before, and he's like, oh, I have internet issues.
Yeah.
And then he said he left his phone at his girlfriend's house. It's like, why don't you bring your whole computer to your girlfriend's house and play? I don't understand, but maybe it was too late to do it. I don't really know. And it was just like a weird situation because he left his phone so he couldn't contact anyone. Then I heard rumors that someone actually went to his house and he wasn't there, but I guess that was false.
I mean, there's something, someone's not telling the truth somewhere. And I think my suspicion is Yeezy kind of did something that he probably shouldn't have done and then didn't quite want to admit it. Like, I believe he had internet issues, but I think there was something else that led up to it and he didn't want to quite admit it or something. Because, like, well, apparently Siki went to his house and knocked on
Yeah,
the door
what,
and was
yeah.
and apparently his mum, Yeezy's mum, didn't know where he was. Don't know if that's true, but that's what I heard.
Yeah.
And so if that was the case, then what Yeezy was saying isn't true. So someone's lying somewhere. But I mean, like I don't know what's going on. No one wants to admit they made a mistake on this team. But
Yeah, it's weird.
the point is, get us up.
Yes, but the worst quote that I had to see in the entire thing, the way I see it, if you need a sub, you've already lost the tournament.
Yeah.
Like, the world champions, the MVP of the fucking LAN was a sub. Like, what the fuck? I do not understand that at all. Now, of course, like, maybe, like, you can't find a quality sub. Sure, but that doesn't mean you've already lost the tournament if a sub has to play in your first game of the round of 7,020. And then if Yeezy shows up, then it doesn't fucking matter. Then at least he saved you a loss. Like, that makes absolutely no sense. That it's like, oh, because you have 4 men on the squad, Doomsee, you guys cannot make it. You have no chance. Like, literally makes no sense.
It's like he's thinking, I don't know, it's like he's giving up before you've even had a chance with a sub. Even like if you don't have a sub and one of you can't show up, you're out 100%. Even if like your sub is the worst player imaginable, you might as well get a sub, because then you can still play and you still have more of a chance of going through than you do if you just don't play at all. So I don't know why you don't try it at least. It's crazy. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like giving up before you even try.
And then he goes on to say about subs. It's basically impossible to find a sub that that you can rely on. It's like, you're pretty well known in the community, and if some player doesn't want to play on a different team, you could probably find one if you tried hard enough that will be like, hey, look, I'll be around today, but like I don't care that much about playing in the tournament, but I'll be here just in case you guys need it. It might not be the easiest to find, but you should be finding it. And then he says, teams like IBP can throw money around to their subs. Teams without orgs can't. Newsflash, Overzero was not paid as a sub. He was not. Oh, like Overzero sub, like it might be a little bit of a different story because it's IBP. So people want to sub for them either way because it's just like a good like recognition of like I'm on IBP, even though like he's kind of not, but he's a sub. That makes sense. But to say that like orgs are throwing money at subs, I guarantee you probably none of these orgs have thrown any money at any of these subs, because like why would you? Of course, if they play, the like nice thing would be like if the players are like, hey, like if we make league play and you played like the whole open qualifier, maybe they throw them some money or something like that. But like you can definitely get subs. Like most teams have subs, and it's not like, so Doomsee, you guys have a sub. You guys aren't paying your sub. Like, yeah, it's like, I don't really understand that quote either. And then the last one, like, I can logically conclude that, we'll go a little bit into it. He said, Yeezy, me, and Killer were all SARP vets and played a SARP playstyle. First off, Doomsday, what the hell is a SARP playstyle?
Getting really good power shots? No, I don't know. There's no such thing as a SARP playstyle.
Like, this game has been out for a year and 2 months. It doesn't matter if you're a SARP vet at this point. Like, there's no such, like, to me at least, like, Vogan is a smart guy. So maybe they have their own playstyle, which is perfectly fine. And it's hard to have a sub come into a playstyle. But again, if you only need him during the open qualifiers, it should not matter. At least for the, like, beginning of the open qualifiers.
Even if everything Vogan has said is true, every single point he makes is true, even if that's the case, you still should get a sub, because you still have more of a chance. Like, if you say, like, oh, all the subs are not reliable, you might as well at least try. If you have a sub, and it turns out he can't make it because he's just unreliable or whatever, at least you tried to get a sub, and it's not like, and you haven't just not even bothered. It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. Just try it, at least get a sub. It's a backup plan. There's absolutely no downside to just having a sub on your team. And there are plenty of players, I don't agree with what he says anyway, there are plenty of players who would sub. They're like, we were doing like sub tryouts and stuff just to see, like, who do you think would be the best sub for us or whatever. And then if they don't sub for us, they can sub for another team, because every team's looking for a sub. So
yeah, and he's saying like the only players who could play like that are SARP players, which makes absolutely no sense. And they all have a team. But it's like, again, yeah, your sub is not going to be as good as your starting three. That's kind of the point. But you can still use him if needed. And, like, at the same time, like, Vogan and Killer are pretty good players. They should be able to carry a sub a little bit during the open qualifiers. Or at least have a chance to come out of, like, the winner side. But I don't know. It makes absolutely no sense to me. And then, like, Vogan has, like, come back on Twitter and be like, yeah, we should have had a sub. But, like, I don't get all the defending. It's like, just say, yeah, we should have had a sub. Like, it's pretty simple. You should have had a sub. And it sucks that, you know, because of that 1% chance that you guys didn't make it, that one player couldn't make it, now you're out and you have no chance at the LAN. Now you have pretty much nothing to play for the next 4 months. Like, there's smaller things here or there, but I don't know. And like Vogan has said, he's going to come back trying to build up teams with, like, unknown players. So I assumed, like, this team by itself is done, but who knows? Like, maybe they'll play in some stuff. I don't think they've played in anything since. I don't think they played in Gfinity or anything.
No, I think they're all going their separate ways now. It's like, Jesus,
Yeah.
any little thing when they just, like, split out. I don't know why. Whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand not having a sub. And of course, yeah, like, there's other teams that don't have subs, but that they're not a story until they make it a story by that 1% chance. And, you know,
Yes.
they should have subs.
They
Well,
should
whatever.
have subs.
So it's so frustrating. I'm just like, I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Like, a Cosmic, like, they didn't have a sub for Qualifier 1 at all the last time, because I was supposed to be a sub, and then I went to RLCS, so I couldn't be a sub. So I told him, I'm like, you should try and pick up over 0, like, because my case was kind of weird, because I was on the team after roster lock, and then I got picked up to be for RLCS, so they were, like, allowing them to pick up a sub in my place, but they didn't choose to pick one up, and I, like, strongly urged them. I'm like, you should pick up over 0, because, like, he's been wanting to be a sub, or someone else, I think, because, like, over 0, I think he did have a team in the first qualifier, but they decided to not go with the sub. It worked out, luckily for them, but it could have very easily ended terribly, so I don't know. And then once you make league play, these teams that don't have subs, they really should pick one up, because you will get fined if you forfeit games in league play. Like, you will lose out on money that, because, like, you get $3,500, and they say it's like $500 per match, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's how it works. Like, if you forfeit a game, they could fine you however much they want, I assume. It probably wouldn't be like a bajillion dollars, but
Well, how it works is, like, if you don't play that match, you don't get the money for that match.
yeah, like, I asked Cloud, and he said it's not necessarily that. It could be, like, it might not be like a $500 fine. It might be something different. I'm not positive, but at that point, you should probably pick up a sub, you know? And you also get a loss, obviously, so that's not good.
Yeah.
And sure, you have a less chance when, like, say, like, Flipside needed a sub. They probably go down to, like, 40% chance to beat Supersonic Avengers compared to 60% or 70%. But it's like, they still have a chance. It's like
70%, excuse me, sir.
more like 95%, but whatever.
What?
No. I don't know. It's crazy to me. It's just crazy to me. And I love Vogan, but it's just, I don't know. Just these quotes were just absolutely insane. I don't know what to say. Yeah, we've said enough. Let's move on. Let's go to PPL. They had their playoffs this week for NA. Like, NA actually had a lot of, like, seasons end this past week. So we had PPL, the brackets. Let me bring it up. So the bracket worked out. Selfless won it all over Genesis, 3-2 in the finals. It seems like every finals of, like, a major event always goes, like, to the last game, which is so nice. Except when Super Saiyan Avengers lost to Weedham Girls. But, you know,
we had to ruin everything, didn't we?
but the big surprise is here. Genesis, they beat G2 3-0, but there was no Kronovi. He was not here for this. Selfless beat Exodus 3-0 as well. So some big games there. Everything else was pretty standard. Kings of Urban didn't participate in PPL, so they weren't here. But I have a gripe with PPL. They've had a season for the past, I don't know, month and a half. I'd say it says that there was 5 weeks of matches. I thought it was a little longer, but say it was a month and a half.
Right.
When you have a season that goes a month and a half, I want to see every playoff game. Like, they only streamed 3 games total, the entire playoffs, which at least they should have streamed 4. They should have streamed both semifinals, in my mind. But, like, when you have a season where a team has been, like, putting in the work for a month and a half, and then they don't even get like broadcast time when they're a playoff team. That kind of irks me a bit because I would prefer like the playoffs to be like a big deal for them because they've just had like 5 weeks of regular season that didn't matter as much, so it's not as much hype. But when it's playoffs, like you got to hype the shit out of that and show more of these games, in my mind.
I agree.
Yeah, they didn't show many, and luckily, like they showed one of the semifinals. Luckily, they both went 3-0. But if they would have got one of the 3-0s and the other one went game 5, they would have had like 15 to 20 minutes of downtime just waiting for it to end because they weren't even joining in progress, I don't think, of the other game. And when it comes to playoff time, like personally, like I ran the Gamerswing thing, and one of the main things I wanted to do was show every playoff game. And I don't know, that just irks me a bit. I wish they would have done that. But congrats to Selfless though, coming out with the win over Genesis. Like NA lately has been like a new team winning every tournament or like every big event lately, which is pretty exciting because like Genesis won the past 2 Rocket Royales, then Selfless won this, and then we move on to the Gamer Saloon Champions League finals or playoffs were also this week. They were the next day on Thursday, and this was 6 teams made the playoffs here, and it was best of 5s. It was so 2 teams had buys from the regular season, but it was basically the top 6 teams in North America all competing in this. So this is like a good barometer to see how league play will work if all 6 make it, at least for now. Like at least it's the closest event since then. But Vendetta takes down G2 Esports 3-1. They had a really shitty sub for the first game. I had to sub for him.
A shitty sub. It was the perfect sub.
It was funny. I had so many Steam messages, like one from Doomsee. Like I had some from all these other people, like, "Oh my god, kill it!" Or it was so funny. But I was like, I am not prepared to play right now. But yeah, it was pretty great. But G2 didn't have 0 for this tournament, so that's like 2 big playoffs. They didn't have their full roster. That's a little worrying going into the open qualifier, like the end of this, without them using their full roster. But we'll see. They had Gambit in instead of 0 because 0, I think he was doing stuff with family because I think he's about to move. So he was hanging out with family, which is understandable. But it's just a little worrying that they're not getting as much practice time as maybe they would hope during this week. Then Kings of Urban versus Genesis was really close and went 3-2 to Kings of Urban. That's like Kings and Genesis are like 1-2 possibly, but now Exodus and Selfless have been playing really well as well. But Kings take a 3-2. Then they go on to lose to Selfless 3-1. And Exodus beat Vendetta. Like Vendetta was doing really well. They had the 3-1 over G2, and then they almost beat Exodus. They lose out 3-2, and then Exodus wins an epic 7-game series, a 4-3 over Selfless. It was a really good series until the final game. Like Exodus kind of blew them out final game, but Selfless, they've been playing really, really well. And of course, Selfless is not the A Money team anymore. It is Momentum. So it's What's Up Miho, Dapper, Naps, and Timmy. But they've been playing extremely well. Like they're like one of my favorite teams to watch right now. They've improved so much. Like they barely made the Gamerswing Champions League, which was like 2 months ago. They had to make through open qualifiers lower bracket, and since then they've just been destroying people. They were the 2 seed. They beat both Kings of Urban and Cosmic or G2 throughout the season, and like they're looking really good. Exodus is looking really good. Kings have been looking really good at times. Genesis has been looking really good. And then there's G2. It's like G2 has not been looking that good. It's a little worrying for them. Luckily for them, they had the top seed for the RLCS Open Qualifier because they won the LAN. That's really helping them right now, but it's a little worrying. But at the same time, there's a top 6 right now in NA, and these are the top 6 by far, I would say. But
I mean, G2 have always kind of done that though. They've always been pretty. They've always lost to teams around them a lot online, but then it was just a LAN where they just took everything by storm. So I'm guessing it's basically be another repeat of that. If they get through, they'll struggle to get through to the top 4 if they get there. But once they do get there, if they go to the LAN, then they'll do much better at the LAN, I reckon.
Yeah,
it's like Kings now doing well, but they did crap at the LAN.
It's weird, but at the same time, like Cosmic during Qualifier 1, they were still that dominant team, and they won Qualifier 1, and that's why they made LAN, because then they didn't even make playoffs for Qualifier 2. So it is a little worrying for them because they basically made land because that qualifier won, but they need to start doing better online. Otherwise, there's a lot like these 6 teams. Any of these 6 could probably be top 4 for the land, and who knows? Because the league play is going to be 2 months, roughly, like from now until then. So that 7th or 8th team that also make it, they could easily surprise and do well, like kind of how like Lucky Bounce surprised last time. But it should be worrying for the G2 guys if from their recent results because they have not performed well.
I think it's like just the other teams. It may have been easier in qualifier 1, but I think now the other teams are improving like quite a lot. It's happening in EU as well. All the teams are just improving like a lot. So if you're staying at your same level or just improving a little bit, then you're going to fall behind quite quickly, which is what might be happening to G2 because they might be running on. I mean, I know they work hard, but like the other teams are just improving at such a fast pace that it's not going to be as clear cut now. And now NA is just all like everyone's beating each other, which makes it quite more exciting. So who knows how the LAN or the group play will play out. I think the group play will be fine, but the top 4 will be hard to decide.
Yeah. Plus, like G2, they did beat Exodus in the final week of the Gamersman Champions League. So I mean, they have results here or there, but they just haven't had them consistently. So it's a little worrying for sure. But I think it's just worrying for any of those 6 teams because they all know that all these teams are really good now and they can all beat each other on any given day. So it's league play is going to be really interesting in North America, which is kind of surprising because usually there's been more of like a top tier of teams and then it kind of falls off before the end of the top 8 compared to Europe. But Europe as well lately hasn't had the top 8, but it seems like they're going to have that this time where like all top 8 are pretty good. But then Doomsee, want to talk a little bit about Gfinity from yesterday and the crazy results that happened there?
This doesn't surprise me, these results anymore. I think they weren't the norm, shall we say, but as I was saying, all the teams are improving so fast now, and the teams that did do well have actually gotten good results in the past. That I don't think it's too surprising. But what the results was Mocket Aces won the whole thing against Precision Z in the finals, and they beat them 4-1. Now, I guess with Mocket, they're new, so we don't really know how well they were going to perform. But obviously, with all their players are like well known, so it's not exactly too surprising. But I think Precision, because that was a grudge match everyone wanted. Mocket and Precision Z, they want Pashi and Siki to play off each other. Yeah. So yeah, that was a bit crazy. But I think what was quite surprising actually, I think the most surprising result for me was in the semis with Mocket 3-1 Northern Gaming.
Because Northern was a full squad. Yeah,
I think Northern were rivaling Flipside, and Mocket just kind of came out of nowhere and then 3-1 them, which is quite surprising. But I guess that shows that Mocket were playing pretty well today, since they also won it 4-1. In the other semis, Precision Z 3-1 Red Eye. Red Eye were quite. That's Red Eye is Dadu, Tequilas, and Chosette. All 3 well-known players.
Yep.
But yeah, Precision Z 3-1 them. Again, that could go either way. I don't think on another day, Red Eye could beat Precision by. That's pretty even.
But Precision also beat Penta, which is pretty.
That surprised me. That's the one that surprised me because Penta recently they've been. I think they were kind of like the third, so they would kind of beat every other team. But then if they had played against Flipside or Northern, they would lose out to them. So they were kind of like in that spot where they couldn't quite beat the 2 above them at all, but they could consistently beat the teams below them. So then Precision Z was kind of the first team that was ranked below them that beat them, and that was quite surprising. Especially it's crazy the difference because if Precision Z 3-2 Penta, and then Mocket 4-1 Precision Z, it's showing I mean, I guess you can't judge it completely by the scores.
Depends.
But it is showing this Gfinity is proving that all the top 8 teams and more are just all closing the gap. Like even Flipside now, they're not so. I mean, Flipside, they got 3. Well, actually, Flipside. Okay, ignore me.
They weren't a full.
I just realised they weren't full roster. Yeah. but even like in the past, flip side, I think they are ahead. I think they're quite comfortably ahead, but their gap is closing, and it's that I think it's now the number 2 to number like 10 spot, which is just completely collapsing in itself, and they're like moving around. So any team, it could be anywhere at this point. It's just flip side, I think, of the one team ahead. So this Gfinity for me is proving that all the teams are kind of mixing around, and there's no really like there's no clear cut winner anymore, and it's going to be very, very interesting to see who goes into league play, because a lot of these teams will possibly repeat the same matches tomorrow. Because Red Eye also 3-2 Supersonic Avengers.
Oh, we are not talking about that. Yeah,
we're not talking about that. Yeah. And then so that matchup could happen tomorrow as well.
Yeah, that could be the semis.
Yeah,
but also like Mocket. They did win 3-1 over Northern Game and 4-1 over Precision Z, but then they only 3-2 Oh My Dog. And Oh My Dog has been like a 12 to 14 team.
Yeah.
So it's just showing again, like as you were saying, like everyone's getting really close, and it's just like any given day, any of these teams can beat like each other. Because Oh My Dog, like obviously that's a really close series. So that could have went either way. The Red Eye series could have went either way. Precision Z versus Penta, like a lot of close series. It's going to be crazier, I think, for Europe in the Open qualifier to see which teams make it compared to North America. North America seems a little bit more set, but we shall see. And on that, we are going to go over RLCS bracket predictions. We'll start in NA because it's like really easy. It's really not that bad. I'm actually going to full screen this so people can see the actual bracket while we talk about it instead of seeing our little faces. So let's do that. Here's the bracket, guys. I'll put on the projected. So we'll start G2 as the top seed. It has a little bit of an easy road. Onslaught shouldn't be too much of a problem. Weaves on Wheels shouldn't be too much of a problem. Take Two is the interesting game here. With G2, how they haven't been playing fantastically. Take Two hasn't played a ton together yet, though, so we'll see in that game. I assume G2 will still take it, but Take Two has a shot here. But that's a pretty easy bracket. But it could also be Take Two versus the other one in the semis. Literally, they could also come out and play G2. That one should be a close game as well. But I think most people still have G2 coming out through the winners bracket. What do you think, Dooms?
Yeah, I think they'll do it. I don't know. I don't see G2 not like just making it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems just more weird that they wouldn't. So as with my little knowledge of NA, I reckon basically the G2 will comfortably, not comfortably, but like they will get through in the winners bracket. And if they don't, they'll definitely get through in the losers bracket.
Yeah. Like lower bracket or losers isn't great. Like it should be pretty easy for a lot of these teams if they make the winner bracket final to go through, because it drops off really quickly after like the 8th spot, I would say, in NA. So for the second group in here, we got pretty much like the group of death for the winner bracket side. We got Kings of Urban as the 4 seed because they came in 4th for NA at the LAN. And then Selfless, which is probably the best team that didn't make LAN. So they got the 5th seed. So they're going to meet in the winner bracket finals if they get that far. Which a lot of people think like these are 2 of the top 3 teams right now in NA. So that's like really unfortunate for both these teams. But at the same time, Kings of Urban still has to play Lucky Bounce, which Lucky Bounce is like a different squad now. They're not as good as they were, obviously, with Darkfire and Torment leaving. They actually had issues. Timothy had issues with the seeding actually for their squad because they're like, we have to face Kings and Selfless if we want to get in. But like, Lucky Bounce is not the same team they were, and like they don't deserve a higher seed in my mind. They're definitely in that 10 to 16 range. So Kings should win that game, but again, who the hell knows? But it should be Kings versus Selfless. Selfless also has to play Classic Stanley, who they're pretty good. They're also like on the cusp of being a top 10 team. So like a lot of good teams in this side of the bracket. But Kings versus Selfless, I'm going to have to give it to Selfless. Selfless is looking extremely good lately. And I don't see them slowing down anytime soon. They're like my favorite in NA, probably. to win everything for NA.
Oh, hello.
But we'll see. You know, like as it goes on, it's a long season once they get in. But I think Selfless is the best team in North America right now. What do you think about this group in here?
Kings and Selfless could go either way. I mean, like you said, Lucky Bounce aren't the same, so
Yeah.
I think Kings will be fine with them. But yeah, I can't really pick between Kings because they're like interchangeable at this point. So, well, who did you pick? Selfless, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll pick Kings then.
Sweet.
There we go. I settled it.
All right.
I'll pick Kings.
And then we go to the easiest bracket because Genesis got knocked out. I don't really know how like it's gonna go to see who plays Revival in the finals, but Revival should get there, and I think a Revival should win it. So they should be counting their graces that they don't have to play Genesis. But honestly, like I really don't know who's gonna come out. They have That's Pretty Neat going out, but like none of these teams really seem like it. Like Sad Cats should beat That's Pretty Neat. So that shouldn't happen. I don't know. Like I see Revival coming out of this pretty cleanly. What about you?
I've no idea who That's Pretty Neat is. The only team I know, well, New Era I know, and Revival. So, by the rules of picking the team that you know, I think Revival will get through pretty. But in terms of team names, That's Pretty Neat. It's a much better team name.
That is.
That's my favorite team name so far.
That's true. But like so far in North America, it's pretty cut and dry. Like sure, in the winter bracket final between Kings and Selfless, like that's a tough match, but we don't expect them to not make it. Like both of them. And then the other really hard bracket is Exodus versus Vendetta if they make it that far. But Deception, watch out for them. They've actually been taking series during groups of Rocket Royale, like against these better teams, like Exodus. So watch out for them to make some surprises here. I don't expect it, but if any team can make like a weird surprise, it would be Deception in my mind. But I still have Exodus over Vendetta. Like Vendetta's playing pretty well, but they had some recent roster moves, and now they have like Lethamyr with Darkfire and Torment, and they're doing pretty well, but I don't know if they've gelled to their fullest extent yet. So I think Exodus are still the favorites here to come out, and I think Vendetta will beat Deception, but that game is scary to me. Deception might be able to take that one.
They should cast that game then.
Well, I think so. All right, guys, here's a little inside scoop.
Oh, hello.
Here's the plan. To my knowledge, it could change, but I think they're trying to cast every single elimination or like winning get in game.
Right.
Every single one. I'm not sure if that's the plan per se. I'm not there. But I think that is what they're trying to do. So they would get every single winner bracket one and then every lower bracket one. So that would be exciting. So we won't see any winner bracket semifinals, which is kind of good because we would rather see every team get in. It's such a big deal because they all get paid $3,500 if they make it. That hopefully we get to see everyone, but I'm not sure if they're doing that. But you know, blame me if they don't. But do you think Exodus is coming through as well here, or
Exodus beat Vendor. I'm confident on that one.
And then we go lower bracket. Oh, also, like I didn't mention, what was it? I want to mention shout out Team Hopeless versus Classic Stanley. They might have a shot there. That's A Money Squad with Menchaca. But we'll see. They actually have Hopeless going really far in the lower bracket, but so for the first one, we would have Take-Two in this spot, and like no one in like these games like around Take-Two. None of these teams really seem that threatening at all. Like Team Hopeless isn't that threatening. I don't think VVV is that threatening. So like, it should be pretty easy for Take-Two to get in. I would think, but they haven't been playing a ton together yet, unless they've been practicing a lot this week. I'm not sure if they have. Hopefully they have, but they should make it back and be back into the group stage. And Doomsee, like I don't know if I told you, but Take-Two is the old Market squad. I don't know if you knew that. So yes. I know like you don't follow NA as close.
Yes, I briefly remember that.
Okay, yeah. So that's Rizzo, Insolences, and Zane Jackie.
Cool.
they should make it pretty comfortably. Like, I don't see Hopeless putting up a fight or any of these teams really. Unless, like, someone loses earlier in here and swaps down to these areas. That's the only way this could get scary. Like, say, like, G2 loses the Onslaught. Like, if Take-Two or G2 loses here, they would have played Genesis in the, like, if they lose in the semifinals. So that would be scary. Moving on to the second lower bracket one, Selfless versus Deception. Again, so, like, this one, like, I would have Kings down here, and you would have Selfless.
Yes.
But again, watch out for Deception. They've been doing pretty well. Like, they haven't been consistent with the results, but they've at least had results against these top teams. And that's scary, because you only need to have one result against these top teams to take it. So just watch out for them. Like, this is a really tough bracket for Kings or Selfless. Like, they have to play one another and then play probably the next best team that might not make league play in Deception. So it's a little scary for those two teams. And I would not be completely shocked if one of them doesn't make it, but I would still, well, all right, let's be fair. I would be really shocked if they don't make it. But Deception, like, if Deception was in any other group, and, like, if they played Take-Two, I think they have a really good shot. But they get this really tough bracket of Selfless versus Kings. See, what Deception should do is actually lose in the first round on purpose to get an easier lower bracket. That's what they should do if they were smart.
We had this discussion. Like, I had this discussion
I know.
SA with my teammates
In
the Q2, because we're like, wait, if we get in there, that'll be much easier. But we don't want to risk. We don't want to risk, like, losing early just for it.
And no one throws. It's not allowed. But I'm just saying. Just incepting into Deception's head. Lose first round. Maybe it'll help. I'm actually not sure if that would even matter. I don't know if they would be on the same side or not.
Just go ham all the way. That's what we do.
Quantum would be... Oh, no. If they lost, they would have to play Genesis. So that's probably not a good idea. So maybe not. So they got a tough road ahead of them.
Gibbs.
Then we got the Genesis side of the lower bracket. Like, honestly, Genesis doesn't have that tough a road besides maybe Literally or Take-Two, whoever loses that game. That's going to be their toughest test. But Genesis has been playing well enough where they should beat these teams. So that's not even the lower bracket final, which kind of sucks because we'll see the one after it. But I think that one's actually tougher for them, the lower bracket semis, I guess you would call it, over the lower bracket final, probably. But Genesis, even though they lost to the first weekend, I think they still make it through. Luckily for them, they didn't get dropped into that Selfless versus Kings of Urban bracket. But so I think they still make it, though, because the road isn't that tough for them.
Yes, it's an interesting way to go. Personally, I wouldn't have chosen that route, but
maybe they want to play a few extra games. Just get some more warm-ups with Classics or whatever. But who knows? Maybe it's like the Classics curse. Like, they look so good during their honeymoon phase, and they've dropped a little bit, but they haven't dropped a ton. They've still been playing really well, but who knows? Classics finds a way to lose somehow. I don't know how, but, like, in Qualifier 2, no one had Retrospect doing anything. They come out first week looking amazing. And then Classics is all over Twitter, like, saying, oh, yeah, we're the worst team. Like obviously, like, sarcasm. Or worst team in groups. And then they just fall apart in weekend number 2. So who knows? Maybe it's a Classics curse. I don't know. We'll see with them. But they should make it. Like, NA, again, is pretty reasonable. And then on the other side, we got Classic Stanley, Lucky Bounce, or Vendetta coming through. Like, if everything plays out, of course. Classic Stanley's pretty good, but they're not Vendetta good, I don't think. I think Vendetta will still make it. I'm a little worried about Vendetta just because of they have to play Exodus, and I don't think they'll win that. And then if they have one bad set somewhere else against, like, Deception, then that throws things off. Then they would have to play Selfless. So I'm a little worried for Vendetta. Out of the 8 teams to make it, Vendetta and Take-Two are my 2 that I'm worried about the most. And then I would think Deception or Literally would probably take their spots. Maybe Classic Stanley if this lower bracket gets easier, if Vendetta lost in the round before. But yeah, not too many crazy things. Like, I know Doomsee, like, you don't follow NA too much, but even you could guess all 8 teams right.
My prediction was literally the 8 teams that are projected.
And we had
Yeah,
James's predictions as well. Like, he's not here because obviously he's about to do RLCS. And by the way, guys, games are starting right now for the NA. 1:45 is when the games start. So they're starting right now. The broadcast doesn't start till 3. But we'll finish up here. And then maybe if someone's playing, we'll host them before hopefully they host RLCS. So we got pretty simple. Like, all 8 teams that I just said that we're in, that Doomsee said that we're in. James has also said the same 8 teams. It's pretty simple. It's not that bad. And then we'll go over to Europe in a second. Let me tidy things up here. But pretty easy. Boy. Yeah. Oh yes. So messy. So messy. All right. We'll go over to Europe now, and
it's so easy in Europe.
Oh yeah, this one gets really, really interesting, to say the least. Like, there's some cool games that could happen that I'm really excited for. Let's go right into it. First off, we'll start with the flip side. Like, I think flip side and Northern Games brackets are pretty simple. They should make it in. They're probably the 2 best teams in Europe, consistently at least. And they also have pretty easy brackets because, like, flip side got the number 1 seed, Northern got the 2 seed. I wouldn't be too worried about them, but if Good Morning beats Team Solid, we would have a winner bracket final of Flipside Tactics versus Mike Rules. And how good would that be?
That would be quite exciting. Unfortunately, that won't happen because Team Solid will win.
Team Solid should win, but
they should definitely win that. If they don't, then what they do?
Like I do say all the time, I think Mike Rules might be the best team player in the game. And who knows? Maybe he can make his teammates look so fucking good that they just beat Flipside and go in. Or maybe, like, if they play, watch how Flipside's playing. Like I was saying how Deception should throw earlier. Maybe Flipside throws Mike a bone. Be careful. Just watch. You never know. You never know.
Jesus. Can't have any of that.
Of course,
who put in these ideas and people?
I know. Minds. Of course, you're not allowed to do this. But I'm just saying. But flip side, yeah, they should easily come out from this. This isn't that hard. Team Solid's okay, but I don't think they're no flip side tactics.
No,
that's for sure.
Not quite on that level.
There's some other decent teams in here though, like probably Swamp Monkeys is pretty good. Maybe if they beat like Luminous. They have some good players. I haven't seen them play a ton yet. And De Boer's team, Valencia, they're okay. They're not that great. Team Solid should beat them, but that could be an upset. It's very unlikely. But
the top half of this entire bracket seems pretty straightforward. Like, the projected is pretty much what I would say. Mokia on Fleet, Summit, Sector 1. Because Summit are pretty good. They're not quite well known, but they're quite a good team. They're on that, like, kind of cusp. Yeah. On the 8th spot, where they could squeeze in to qualify.
Yeah, they could surprise market quite as well. Who knows?
Yeah. The most surprising, well, not surprising, but the most difficult one to judge in this top half is Penta and Mocket in the winners final, because Mocket, like yesterday, they were really, they played very well and they won the entire Gfinity, but they've also had times where they've just played like not very good, so they're quite inconsistent as a team, I think.
Plus, Pashy's internet was really shaky last night. Like, he kept DCing from the game, so who knows? Do they have a sub?
They have a sub. Please.
Do they have a sub?
Please tell me.
Maybe we should ask Vogan. Do they have a sub? I honestly don't know if they have a sub. I think they do, but
I hope so, and I think I'm pretty sure they do.
Yeah, we'll just say they do because I don't feel like looking.
Penta v Mocket. I don't know who that could go absolutely either way.
Because Penta, like, this week has played a little bit worse, but they've been playing well. So, like, I'm giving it to Mocket right now, but just because they won yesterday, and maybe that like feel goodness will continue through Sunday, but it should be close.
I vote Penta in a 3-2. Ever so slightly, game 5 overtime.
Yeah,
because like I think Penta really want this, like, because I talk to like the Penta players a lot, and like they really like work for it. And I think I don't know. I think when it comes to the main event, RLCS, I think they really, really try. I don't think, and actually, I have oh crap, I forgot what the match was yesterday. The matchup. Did Penta didn't play Mocha, did they? No. So I think I was going to say this earlier, but like at the moment, it's not so much which teams are better, but it's more like which play styles work and don't work against other teams. Because all the teams are so even, there are now certain teams that other teams struggle against and other teams don't do well just because of the matching play styles. And Mocket are very, very defensive, so they'll just kind of wait, and then they do a counter, and then they score, and then they'll kind of wait and just be passive again. And I think with Penta's, Penta's specialty isn't so much in their mechanical play, but more in their their firm ability to like stay in position and like work as a team. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I think it's going to be very, very non-goal heavy, that series. But
yeah, that's because like. It's basically, can Penta score enough to beat Mocket?
Yeah.
Because Mocket is going to try and just like keep the score low, probably. And it's just, are Penta like offensively skilled enough, like with either their teamwork or just individual play to like get those few extra goals in to really turn the series? Like, I hope they win because we all want to see what's going to happen in the lower bracket. But,
hell yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's closer than at first what everyone was thinking. Because at first, when Mocket Aces started, they weren't looking too hot. But since they won yesterday, that's starting to turn the tide a bit on them. That one is definitely probably the most intriguing winners round 3 game, I would say, out of the 4. Then we move on to Northern Gamon's bracket. It's not hard for them, really. No. Like Oh My Dog or Cow Nose, whoever they get, I don't really see Northern Gamon having too big of an issue with either one, but you never know.
Well, My Dog did better against Mocket than Northern did, so who knows?
Who knows? Maybe they're ready to go. But I was right in saying that Dogu's team, I will repeat, did better than Vogan's team.
It doesn't count.
Oh, yeah. It counts. Oh, I will count. To be fair, like, they already did better than them once because Vogan changed teams. And then Vogan's new team also didn't make it. So they beat them twice. I'm taking it. I'm taking the credit. I'm taking it.
Yeah, you can have this one.
So who do you think's going to win, Cow Nose or Oh My Dog?
Cow Nose have actually gotten really good lately. I don't know why. Maybe they're just playing a lot. But like about a month ago, maybe a bit longer, they just suddenly just shot up out of nowhere. Came out, they beat us like twice or something, and we're like, "What the hell is going on? Who are these Cow Nose?" Oh my god, I don't have a clue on this one. I think I'll wing it to. I reckon Cow Nose will do this one. I have more faith. Yeah, I'm gonna go Cow Nose in this one. I think Oh My Dog don't quite have what it takes, but it's gonna be a 3-2. It's gonna be a close one.
It's gonna be close, yeah. Like that should be a really close series. Like I'm gonna have to agree with you. You're the Europe expert.
What? But you love Oh My Dog.
I know. So well, you know, as Lawler says, Dogu is the best defensive player in the world. So, so you never know with Oh My Dog, but and then we come down to like probably the iffiest bracket of them all. This bracket literally like we might not even have either of these two teams in winners round 3. I assume that you guys will beat Unspecified, but the problem is if Red Eye makes it and Red Eye just beats you, that's going to be a risky game for you guys since you did just lose to him 3-2.
Yeah, I reckon. I mean, this is a stack bracket. This is quite insane. I reckon. I don't think Red Eye. I don't think Unspecified will beat Red Eye. I think Red Eye are going to come through. Mm-hmm. I think we'll beat Exeter, and then we'll face Red Eye in the winners round 2. I mean, I have full confidence that we'll get through to league play through winners bracket, but it's not to say that there is some very tough competition to get through to get there.
Yeah, I think you guys are still better than Red Eye. Like, sure, they beat you, but like.
Well, that's the thing. It just depends on the day.
8 times out of 10.
Play on the day. You know?
Exactly. Yeah. Like I think like 8 times out of 10, you probably win that best of 5 series. Maybe 7 out of 10. But I think you guys should take Red Eye down. And then on the other side, we got Precision Z and Aeriality, both pretty decent squads. Who do you got in that game?
Precision Z, pretty confident in this one, I think. RLT kind of slipped a little lately.
That's true. They did drop a bit lately.
Precision Z sort of came out of nowhere. I mean, because they're new, obviously.
I was surprised they did so well so early because of all the roster moves that they've been going through.
It's the honeymoon period! And all these teams have to face them in the honeymoon period.
That's
Great,
true.
fantastic.
That is true. They're still during the honeymoon phase. But their honeymoon phase is like weird because it's kind of like the husband cheated on you and then you immediately got married like a day later because you had to.
It's like an arranged marriage.
Yeah, it's kind of like an arranged marriage where it's like you're not sure how the sex is going to be, but then you're like, Then it's like either one or the other. Like, this is amazing or this sucks. So who knows? Maybe, I don't know. So far, it seems like sex is pretty good. So maybe they'll keep at it. They didn't look great against Macadaces. And that was the only series I saw, though. But they did, make it all the way to the finals. So I expect them to win as well. But I expect you guys to beat them.
I agree.
Well, to be fair, you guys better beat them, or I'm gonna have a heart attack.
It's not exactly like if we lose, we've got like if we lose. Sorry, the Supersonic Rangers in the Aeriality match. No. It's the Aeriality and Precision Z match.
Mm-hmm.
The loser of that goes in to face like Mocket Aces or Penta, whoever loses out of that lot. So that is like crazy already. That's like heavy. And then also, if the loser of us and Unspecified go into that exact same bracket to face the loser of Aeriality and Precision Z, so it's like this is some. It's just like that. The stacked bracket of Supersonic Avengers to Radical Redirect, right? Mm-hmm. That entire section is basically like you lose in there, and then you just get put into that exact same section again, but in the losers bracket. So it's like quite. It's very. It will vary quite a lot depending on where we win or lose. Because if we lose against Aeriality or Precision Z, for example, the loser of the final round, they go into the very bottom to face probably Summit. So it's like, depends on where you lose will affect as well.
Yeah.
So it's all very crazy.
If you lose to Red Eye, then you're in trouble.
That's probably the worst thing to happen is to lose to Red Eye.
Yeah. So if you lose there, then you have to face Precision Z and Mocket, possibly, or Penta. So that could be pretty rough.
Yeah. I mean, even the loser of Exeter's plays... Yeah, the loser of us and Exeter's plays the loser of Unspecified and Red Eye. So it's like, okay. And then you go through that and you probably face Cal Nose in the end, most likely. So it's all very...
Yeah.
It's very wild. It'd be hard to predict.
Yeah, you have like 3 different lower brackets. Yeah, but I mean, like, you guys should win the first one, and then it's like that second game is the one that's really important that you have to beat Red Eye. Of course, you want to just win in the winner's bracket, but your match won't be that hard if you lose in the winner's bracket. Who knows? Yeah, like playing Summit, which is, that's how seeding works, that you won't have to face anyone that difficult, but you never know. So if we had to put 8 teams in, because I wasn't even thinking about it really, I would have Flipside, Northern, Mock. You know what? Like, I'm gonna give it to Penta. I think they'll pull it out. I'm changing my mind. I'm going Penta.
Okay.
And I'm going you guys, Supersonic Avengers.
Yay!
I'm a little worried about Team Solid. I'm worried. And you know what? Dogu is the best defensive player in the world, Doomsee. Oh, my dog is going to win. They're going to pull it out, and then my predictions of being better than Vogan's team will be more solidified. I'm going to go with Oh My Dog. And then I got Macadaces over Precision Z. I think everyone in the world wants to see Precision Z win this game. Maybe if they're playing in front of a live crowd, Precision Z could win it, but they're not. I think Mocket just looked way better than them on Friday night. So I don't see it. Of course, it could change, but
I mean, it depends on if Precision Z lose
against
true. Aeriality or not. Because if they don't, they just face Aeriality and Precision Z. Well, it's
that's true.
A bit mixed up.
Oh yeah, so that's true. Like there would be Aeriality here. That's very true. So then I would definitely have Maki going through there.
And then Precision Z would face Summit, and that's much.
Yes, Precision Z would probably make it through against Summit. And then I think Red Eye might pull this out, depending. I don't know. Maybe Good Morning. Like Good Morning's around that area as well.
Right? We haven't even talked about them.
I don't even know where they're gonna show up. Who knows? I would not doubt Mike Rules just making a cheeky team and making the round of 8 or league play. That'd be hilarious. So who
Chris
knows?
Competitive goes to LAN. Like, oh crap! This started as a joke, and now we're at the LAN. Like, oh, okay, well done.
Yeah, we'll have to see. But
yeah, I reckon flip side, Penta, Northern and Supersonic Avengers, all 4 go through in the winners finals.
Mm-hmm.
And then based on how I've done what teams lose where, Precision Z will go through by being Summit.
Yeah.
Kaunos will go through being... No, yes, Kaunos will go through being Luminous.
Be Luminous or Red Eye, yeah.
Because Red Eye won't be in that bracket because they're going to be unspecified.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
So then...
Okay.
And then Team Solid, I think, will be Oh My Dog.
Okay.
Yes. And then Mocha Aces will face Aeriality and beat them. And yeah, that's... Where would Red Eye originally go? Red Eye would go... Where unspecified are. Yeah, so Red Eye would actually face... No. Oh, this is confusing now. Red Eye will then go where Precision Z should go. And I think Mocket will beat Red Eye.
Okay, yeah.
So that's what's going to happen, yes. So Precision Z, Kaunos, Team Solid, and Mocha Aces will go through. Even though I think Red Eye is better than Team Solid and Kaunos, based on how the brackets will work.
I think Kaunos is getting a pretty easy bracket down here. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But I think Kaunos will make it, but it's like one of those where I'm like, I don't really think they're top 8 necessarily, but they'll make it just because they had an easier road. Unless Oh My Dog beats Kaunos. And that changes everything.
Yeah,
then Oh My Dog is in again.
Dog could beat Kaunos, actually.
That's true. Then Oh My Dog would definitely be in.
It's just so freaking crazy.
You can't beat the best defensive player in the world, Doomsee. You can't do it.
Basically, it's not likely the top 8 in these groups will be the top 8 in Europe. Like,
yeah.
It's so just because of how the brackets will be arranged and who loses where. Like, it's not even if you lose; it's if you lose where in the bracket you lose.
Yeah, it changes. Yeah, that's why it's so weird. And like Europe, there's so many different options that could happen compared to North America, where we're like, it's probably gonna be these 8 teams, and the lower bracket should be pretty simple to navigate for the most part. There was a couple games there, but in Europe, who the hell knows, man? Like, we've had both times in Europe have a lot of surprise teams make the league play for the first 2 qualifiers, and I would not be surprised if that happened again somewhere along the line. North America, both times it was like, we kind of figured these teams were going to make it in. And I think, again, it seems very similar to like the top 8 or the top 8 because a lot of the good players, they decided to sub instead of playing. So it's there's not a lot of contention down in that top 8 area, like in the 8 through 10 area. It's not as good as it could be, which I wish it was better, but we talked about that last week. All right, let me bring back up our beautiful faces, man. Beautiful.
Wow,
we're back. Face? Oh my God, you're in the. Oh, look at him. He's like laying back. Out of
so I was what?
Yeah,
I'm just sleeping. I was just like this.
Doing work.
It's like, what's going on? Now I have to actually sit up. Oh my God, got to sit up. Hello, what's going on?
No, I know. Like, gotta look professional. So James actually had the flip side, Northern Mocket Aces. So Mocket Aces coming out on top on the top half. Supersonic Avengers. He had Aeriality, Penta, Kaunos, and Team Solid. So he didn't really go too far off the beaten path here. Kind of just went down the line, it looks like. But, he's a North American guy. So it makes sense.
Yes.
But who knows? It could be that. You never know. Then, of course, guys, we also did Fantasy. All 3 of us did both regions. And, we're not going to go over the teams here. Like, I'll link them in the YouTube description if you really want to look at them. And you can follow along. I guess we'll just do first gets 3 points, second 2, third 1 for both regions, and we'll just see who wins for bragging rights. So we made some fantasy teams, and if you haven't made your fantasy team, I think you actually can't now for North America because it's just started the bracket. But you still could for Europe if you want on smash.gg. So head on over there, and I think that's about it, Dooms. I think we're ready. Are you ready, Dooms? That's the real question.
So ready. I haven't been more ready in my entire life, Gibbs.
Are you sure?
I'm
Are you sure? Did you call Kasabi?
2,000%. No, we call data instead.
No, but did you call? Because I'd be like, hey man, what's up? You know, just make sure. You know, who knows? Maybe he'll have to log into Data's account. I don't know. Who knows? Again, that is not allowed, guys. It's not allowed. But
That's naughty. Gibbs, this is the third thing you said today that's not allowed. You're supposed to be an analyst, representative of RLCS.
You know, just saying.
Just
saying.
saying.
Do you know why Cosmic won the LAN? Because they cheated. That's why. Come on. I was the coach, you know, coach or manager with quotes. But yeah, they cheated, man. Oh God, I'm spilling shit here. Luckily, there was nothing in that cup.
Oh God.
I poisoned Flipside. You know, that's how it works.
Jesus. No stopping you, is there?
No, there's not. It's not at all. Just watch out.
Right.
Don't get on my bad side, Doomsee. Like James, you know, he's gone. He's not even on the show.
It's just rude, isn't it?
Well, you know, he, was like, hey, I'm going to take your seat on the desk. So I'm like, well, then you're off the show.
He's keeping it warm for you. That's what's happening.
Yeah, that's true. He is. Probably a little too warm. Probably a little too toasty. It's going to smell a little bit like when I get back. But hey, what are you going to do?
Jeez.
All right, guys. On that was DFH Locker Room number 19. Got some RLCS predictions in there. You can tell us that we're all terribly wrong. Because, we are. It's just the way it is. Doomsee, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
For joining me.
You're welcome. Thanks for joining me.
1v1 DFH Locker Room. But we have done this one before because I had the graphic already. So I didn't even have to make a new one. I was so happy. I have like a yellow little Twitter for me. You have a blue Twitter. It's beautiful. But anyway, guys, you can follow Doomsee on Twitter at Doomsee with an extra E at the end. And you can follow me, of course, Gibbs00, and the links will be in the description. If I remember, sometimes I forget to add Doomsee and James's, so I apologize. Because it's like, normally my thing's like default, and I forget to change it, but, whatever. But anyway, guys, that's been a show. We will be back next week to do league play predictions. We will predict all top 8, where they will place. We will keep track of it throughout the season. And we'll see. And that's regular season. We'll do playoffs later. We're just going to do regular season. But enjoy watching the RLCS. It's the biggest weekend for these guys. In the next 4 months, Doomsy's dying from something in chat, I think. But anyway, we're going to go on that. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Go watch RLCS. Bye.
Bye.